Solomon's last days, a king's silent struggle. In the quiet moments before dawn, when the world is suspended between night and day, there lies a space where reflection finds its voice. It's in this delicate balance that we begin to glimpse the life of a king whose wisdom once shone brighter than the stars. Imagine a man who held the world in his hands, a king whose name was whispered across lands and whose counsel was sought by rulers and sages. Solomon, the son of David, was a monarch like no other, a man who walked with God, and yet found himself entangled in the complexities of his own heart. As we embark on this journey through the twilight of Solomon's reign, we're invited to explore the echoes of a life both magnificent and marred by human frailty. It's a tale rich with triumphs and tragedies, where the pursuit of wisdom is both a gift and a burden. Solomon's story is not just about the grandeur of his reign or the splendor of his temple, but about the inner chambers of a soul wrestling with the weight of divine favor and human folly. In these pages, we'll walk alongside Solomon, feeling the warmth of his early years when his heart was pure and his purpose clear. Yet we'll also bear witness to the shadows that crept in as his heart strayed, as the allure of power and pleasure led him down paths he never intended to tread. This isn't just a story of a king long gone. It's an exploration of the timeless dance between wisdom and weakness, of how even the wisest among us can lose their way. Let us journey together through the sunset of Solomon's life, where whispers of prophecy and promises unfulfilled linger. As we turn the pages of his story, may we find not only the lessons of a king but reflections of our own heart. In his struggles and prayers, perhaps we will discover echoes of our own desires and the eternal call to return to the source of all wisdom. Number 1. The echoes of a glorious reign. As we turn our gaze back to the time of Solomon, we find ourselves standing amidst the vibrant echoes of a reign that was both magnificent and awe-inspiring. The kingdom of Israel, under Solomon's wise and discerning leadership, stretched its influence far and wide. His era was marked by unprecedented peace and prosperity, a testament to the divine wisdom that Solomon had asked for and received from God. Solomon's reign was indeed glorious. The opulence of his court and the grandeur of the temple he built for the Lord were unmatched. The world marveled at his wealth and splendor, but it was his wisdom that truly set him apart. People came from every corner of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, as recorded in 1 Kings 4:3. And people of all nations came to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and from all the kings of the earth, who had heard of his wisdom. Under Solomon, Israel flourished like never before. The land was filled with the sound of jubilant celebrations and the sight of fruitful harvests. There was peace on all borders, and prosperity flowed like a river through the nation. In those days, silver was as common as stones in Jerusalem. 1 Kings 10:27. It was a time when the promises made to Abraham seemed to be fully realized. Yet, even in the midst of such grandeur, there were subtle signs of the challenges that lay ahead. Solomon's heart, initially so devoted to God, began to waver. The alliances he formed with other nations through marriage brought foreign influences into the heart of Israel. These echoes of a glorious reign were tinged with the emerging complexities of human nature and the tension between divine wisdom and earthly desires. As we reflect on Solomon's reign, we are reminded of the delicate balance between the blessings we receive and the responsibilities they entail. Wisdom and wealth, when not anchored in a steadfast relationship with God, can lead us astray. Solomon's story urges us to seek wisdom, not for our own glory, but to honor God and serve others. In these echoes of a glorious reign, we find both inspiration and caution. We are called to marvel at the heights of what can be achieved when a heart is aligned with God's will, while remaining vigilant of the pitfalls that come with success. Solomon's journey, with all its splendor and struggle, invites us to ponder our own paths and the legacies we hope to leave behind. Number 2. Reflections in the Hall of Mirrors. In this section of Solomon's journey, we find ourselves in a metaphorical hall of mirrors, where the king is surrounded by the reflections of his own life choices, wisdom, and the eventual folly that crept into his reign. Imagine Solomon walking through this hall, each mirror showing a different facet of his life. A young man blessed with wisdom beyond measure, a ruler whose understanding was sought by kings and queens from distant lands, and a sovereign whose decisions shaped the destiny of a nation. As Solomon gazes into these mirrors, he sees the brilliance of his early years. The reflection of a God-given wisdom shines brightly, recalling the moment when God appeared to him in a dream, offering anything he desired. Solomon's humble request for wisdom to govern his people stands as a testament to his noble heart and clear priorities. Give your servant therefore an understanding mind to govern your people, that I may discern between good and evil. 1 Kings. This request pleased the Lord, and Solomon's wisdom became legendary, drawing admirers from every corner of the earth. But as Solomon continues his walk through the hall, other reflections emerge. These mirrors reveal the gradual shift from wisdom to folly, as the king's heart began to stray. Despite his unparalleled wisdom, Solomon's many marriages to foreign women led him into idolatry, a direct violation of the covenant with God. The mirrors show his gradual entanglement in the practices of the nations he had once been set apart from, as he built high places for the gods of his wives. For when Solomon was old, his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not wholly true to the Lord his God. 1 Kings 11:4. This hall of mirrors becomes a place of deep introspection. Solomon's reflections are not just about past triumphs and failures, but also about the profound realization of his own humanity. The tug-of-war between divine wisdom and earthly desires. This internal struggle is captured in his writings, perhaps most poignantly in Ecclesiastes, where he declares, "Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities." Here, Solomon acknowledges the emptiness found in pursuits that fall outside the will of God. Yet amid these reflections, there is a glimmer of hope. The mirrors also serve as a reminder of God's enduring promise and grace. Solomon is reminded of the covenant God made with his father David, a promise of an everlasting kingdom that would ultimately be fulfilled through the lineage of Jesus. The Hall of Mirrors then becomes not just a place of personal reckoning, but also a space where divine prophecy and promise whisper softly, inviting Solomon to return to the heart of God. In this contemplative space, Solomon's reflections urge us to examine our own lives. We are invited to look into our personal hall of mirrors, to discern where our hearts may have strayed, and to seek the wisdom that comes from a life aligned with God's will. As we walk with Solomon, we are reminded that the journey of faith is rarely a straight path, but one that requires constant reflection, repentance, and a heartfelt return to the Lord. Solomon's life, with all its complexities, becomes a mirror for our own spiritual journey, reflecting both the shadows of our failings and the light of God's unending grace. Number 3. The weight of wisdom and folly. As we delve into the life of Solomon, it becomes clear that his story is a profound tapestry interwoven with both wisdom and folly. Solomon was renowned for his unmatched wisdom, a gift bestowed upon him by God. In 1 Kings 3:12, God said to him, "I will give you a wise and discerning heart, so that there will never have been anyone like you, nor will there ever be." This incredible gift allowed Solomon to lead Israel with unparalleled insight, making judgments that were celebrated far and wide. Yet, despite his wisdom, Solomon's heart was not immune to folly. The same man who penned Proverbs, extolling the value of wisdom and understanding, found himself ensnared by the very temptations he warned against. His many marriages to foreign women led him astray as he began to worship their gods, a direct violation of God's commandments. In 1 Kings 11:4 it is written, "As Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father had been." This duality in Solomon's life serves as a poignant reminder of the human condition. We are all capable of great wisdom, yet we are equally vulnerable to the allure of folly. Solomon's story teaches us that possessing wisdom is not enough. We must also have the resolve to apply it in our daily lives, ensuring that our hearts remain steadfast in their devotion to God. As we reflect on the weight of wisdom and folly in our own lives, we are reminded of the importance of seeking God's guidance continually. In Proverbs 3:5-6, Solomon himself advised us to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. It is a call to humility, acknowledging that true wisdom comes from relying on God rather than on our own limited understanding. Ultimately, Solomon's story is a testament to the complexity of the human spirit, a blend of divine wisdom and earthly folly. As we navigate our own journeys, may we learn from his legacy, striving to live with a heart fully devoted to God, ever mindful of the precious gift of wisdom he grants us. Number 4. A heart's journey back to God. In the twilight of his life, Solomon found himself reflecting on the vast tapestry of his reign, from the splendor of the temple he had built for the Lord, to the deep chasms of his own heart, where shadows had crept in. Despite his wisdom, Solomon's heart had wandered, drawn by the allure of many foreign wives and their gods. As he aged, the realization of his spiritual drift became ever more apparent. The very wisdom that had set him apart now weighed heavily on him, illuminating the distance he had placed between himself and the God of his fathers. The journey back to God is often one of humility and introspection. And so it was for Solomon. He began to see the futility in the idols that surrounded him, recognizing the hollowness they brought compared to the fullness of the Lord's presence. In Ecclesiastes 12:13-14 he writes, "Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil." These words echo the echoes of a soul that has come to understand the true essence of life and the importance of reverence towards God. Solomon's heart, once divided, began to seek unity with its Creator. He must have remembered the days of his father David, whose heart, despite its own faults, was described as a heart after God's own. Solomon's journey back was not just a return to faith, but a longing to realign his life with the purpose and love that he knew only God could provide. As he prayed and meditated, perhaps he found solace in the scriptures, in the Psalms of his father that spoke of God's unfailing love and mercy. He might have whispered the words of Psalm 51:10, "Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." The journey back to God is marked by such prayers, a reaching out for the purity and steadfastness lost to the distractions of the world. Solomon's late life reflections reveal a profound truth about the human condition. No matter how far we stray, there is always a path back to the divine, a path marked by repentance, humility, and a renewed desire to walk in God's ways. His journey back serves as a timeless reminder that true wisdom is found not just in knowledge, but in a heart aligned with God. Number 5. The legacy of a wounded soul. As we delve into the legacy left by Solomon, it's impossible to ignore the complexity of his life, a life marked by both extraordinary wisdom and profound personal struggles. Solomon was the king who, having been granted wisdom beyond measure, 1 Kings 3:12, built a kingdom that was unparalleled in its glory. Yet his story is also one of a soul burdened by the very gifts he was given. Solomon's legacy is a tapestry woven with both light and shadow. His wisdom, recorded in the Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs, continues to inspire and guide countless lives. The Proverbs offer practical insights brimming with the clarity of divine wisdom. They remind us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." Proverbs 3:5. This verse encapsulates the essence of Solomon's intended legacy, a call to rely on God above all else. However, Solomon's heart was not immune to the wounds of human frailty. As he aged, his many marriages to foreign women led him astray, drawing his heart away from the Lord. Foreign kings. This turning away from God, despite his unmatched wisdom, serves as a solemn reminder of the dangers of compromise and divided loyalty. His soul, once so full of divine insight, became entangled in the very things God had warned against. Solomon's later reflections, particularly in Ecclesiastes, reveal the introspection of a wounded soul searching for meaning. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Ecclesiastes 1:2, he laments, capturing the emptiness he felt when separated from the true purpose and joy found in God. Despite his achievements, he discovered that without a heart fully surrendered to God, everything else was meaningless. Yet even in his brokenness, there is a profound lesson. Solomon's journey illustrates that God's grace can still shine through our failures. His honest reflections can guide us back to what truly matters, the pursuit of God above. As he concludes in Ecclesiastes, "Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." Ecclesiastes 12:13. In the end, Solomon's legacy is not just one of wisdom and splendor, but also a testament to the enduring truth that our hearts must remain steadfast in their devotion to God. His story invites us to learn from his missteps and to seek a deeper, unwavering relationship with the Creator. It encourages us to leave a legacy not just of worldly success, but of a life lived in faithful communion with God. Number 6. Whispers of prophecy and promise. As Solomon's reign drew toward its twilight, the air was thick with whispers of prophecy and promise that seemed to dance through the corridors of his palace. These were not just the echoes of past glories, but subtle murmurings of a future that was both hopeful and ominous. The weight of his father's legacy pressed upon him, and the words of the prophets reverberated in the depths of his soul. Solomon, the king who built the temple and ushered in an era of peace and prosperity, was also the king who strayed from the path laid out by God. The prophets spoke of a divided kingdom and a people who would forget their God. Yet amidst these warnings, there was a thread of hope, a promise that God's love and covenant would endure. The promise made to David, Solomon's father, echoed in his mind, "Your house and your kingdom will endure forever before me. Your throne will be established forever." These whispers were not only of judgment but of redemption. Solomon knew that despite his shortcomings, God's plan would unfold according to his divine will. The prophetic words were a reminder that God remains faithful, even when his people do not. In the book of Isaiah we read, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord." Isaiah 55:8. This was a comforting reminder that God's plans are far greater than human understanding. In the quiet moments of reflection, Solomon considered what his life meant in the tapestry of history. The promise of a future Messiah, a king greater than any earthly ruler, was a beacon of hope. This Messiah would come from the lineage of David, a direct fulfillment of God's covenant. Solomon, in his wisdom, understood that the fulfillment of these prophecies was not dependent on human perfection, but on divine grace. These whispers of prophecy and promise urged Solomon to look beyond his reign to a future where God's love would triumph. They were a call to repentance and a return to the God who had blessed him beyond measure. The words of Jeremiah would later resonate with this sentiment. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. As Solomon pondered these things, he realized that his legacy was not just in the wealth and wisdom he had amassed, but in his relationship with God and the promises that would outlast his earthly kingdom. The whispers of prophecy and promise were a gentle reminder that the story was far from over, and that God's faithfulness would continue to shape the destiny of his people. Number 7. The final prayer of a king's heart. As the sun began to set on Solomon's life, the once great king found himself in a quieter, more contemplative space. The magnificent walls of his palace, which had echoed with the vibrant life of a bustling court, now seemed to reverberate with the soft murmur of his prayers. Solomon, who had been gifted unparalleled wisdom by God, returned to the simplicity of seeking divine guidance, just as he had in his youth. In this final chapter of his life, Solomon's prayer was not one of grandiose requests or public declarations. Instead, it was a heartfelt dialogue with God, shaped by reflection and repentance. He had seen how his heart had strayed, how his many wives and their gods had led him away from the Lord who had appeared to him twice. 1 Kings 11:9. Yet there was a profound yearning within him to return to that sacred relationship. Lord, Solomon might have whispered, "You who have been my rock and my redeemer, I come before you with a humble heart. I am like a child, knowing little, yet yearning to walk in your ways again." His prayer echoed the sentiment of his earlier request for wisdom, 4 Kings 3:7, but now it carried the weight of years and the lessons learned from both triumph and failure. As he prayed, Solomon recalled the dedication of the temple, when the glory of the Lord had filled the holy place, 4 Kings 8:10-11. He remembered his prayer for the people, asking God to hear their cries from heaven and forgive them. Now it was Solomon himself who sought forgiveness, seeking to realign his heart with God's will. "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me," he might have prayed, echoing the words of his father, David, Psalm 51:10. He longed for the purity of heart that he had once cherished, a heart solely devoted to the Lord. In these moments of intimacy with God, Solomon understood the depth of God's mercy and grace. Despite his failures, the Lord's promise remained, "I will establish your royal throne over Israel forever." 1 Kings. Solomon's prayer was thus filled with gratitude for a covenant-keeping God, whose faithfulness transcended human frailty. As he concluded his prayer, Solomon's heart was at peace. He had come full circle, from the heights of wisdom to the depths of repentance, finding solace in the eternal embrace of his Creator. His life's journey, with all its complexities, was now a testament to God's unending love and forgiveness. Solomon's final prayer was a legacy for future generations, a reminder that no matter how far one strays, the path back to God is always open. It was a call to seek wisdom not just for the mind, but for the heart, a wisdom that finds its true fulfillment in knowing and loving God. Conclusion: embracing the timeless wisdom of Solomon's journey. As we draw to the close of Solomon's story, we are left with a tapestry of wisdom, folly, reflection, and redemption. His life, with all its grandeur and complexity, serves as a profound testament to the enduring truths that echo through the corridors of time. Solomon's journey is not just about the rise and fall of a king, but about the eternal lessons that emerge from his life, a life that captures the essence of human struggle and divine grace. Solomon, renowned for his unparalleled wisdom, reminds us that true wisdom is not just a gift, but a responsibility. In his early years, he sought the Lord's guidance, famously asking for wisdom to govern his people. This choice pleased God, as recorded in 1 Kings 3:9-12. Where Solomon's request was granted, and he was endowed with a wise and discerning heart. Yet the narrative of his reign also illustrates how easily the heart can wander. Despite his wisdom, Solomon's latter years were marked by distractions and deviations from his foundational principles, leading to spiritual and moral consequences. The Book of Ecclesiastes, attributed to Solomon, offers a reflective and sometimes somber perspective on life. In Ecclesiastes 1:14, he observes, "I have seen all the things that are done under the sun. All of them are meaningless, a chasing after the wind." These words capture the futility of pursuits detached from eternal purpose. Yet within these reflections lies a call to remember our Creator and live with an eternal perspective, as he concludes in Ecclesiastes 12:13-14. "Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil." Solomon's narrative also underscores the theme of redemption and the possibility of returning to God. Despite his wanderings, the heart's journey back to God is always open. His final prayer, a poignant reminder of humility and dependence, echoes the truth found in 2 Chronicles 7:14. "If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land." As we reflect on Solomon's life, we are encouraged to seek wisdom that transcends human understanding. James 1:5 offers a promise to all who ask. "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." This wisdom is not merely intellectual, but rooted in a deep relationship with God, guiding us in every aspect of life. In embracing the timeless wisdom of Solomon's journey, we are reminded of the importance of aligning our hearts with God's will, living with purpose, and acknowledging that our ultimate fulfillment is found in Him alone. Solomon's legacy, with all its complexities, invites us to learn from his triumphs and mistakes, steering our own paths with humility, faith, and a heart ever inclined toward God.